Jeff Malott. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Yeah. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Hey. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation, where we talk about fishing and competition. It's your boy Ox Pippin, aka Ox Fishing. Don't come over here tripping. Hey, hope you enjoy the show. Jeff Malott, Lunch Money Lambert, Lego. Hey, welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Hey, welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to KBN Live. I hope you can hear me okay because my internet's acting funny. Dylan, what's up, man? Not Ryan Lambert.
Not a whole lot, man. Just getting back and resting from the wild 3 weeks I've had with ICAST and the Susquehanna, and coming home and immediately fishing a little local derb. It's been it's been fun.
Yeah, so as you can see, Mr. Lambert is not on the screen tonight. I think we're gonna have Dylan in anyway to talk about his wild 3 weeks. But he's gonna sub in for Ryan tonight. He may pop in here if he gets done with his dinner in time, but he's doing his real job tonight. So he's got to go try to sell some stuff to some unsuspecting physicians tonight. So we'll see how that goes for him. But we've got Dylan in here. We're glad to have him. We're going to talk a little bit about his adventure over the last month. Then, as you've seen, we've got Bryan Howell, BDH, legend of the show. He's been on here quite a few times. Back in the winner's circle on Lake Fork, legendary Lake Fork. He blew out the field. We'll put up 106 plus inches. We'll talk to him about that. Then we've got John Patterson from I keep calling it the Three Rivers Throwdown. I don't know if it's even called that anymore, but the river event down in Georgia for the Bass Nation event. And then Jeremy Meadows, the Georgia Bass Nation AOI on in the second half of the show. So it's going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You're in was it called the Three Rivers? What's it called down there now?
It's the Georgia Bass Nation. They just call it the Three Rivers Tournament.
Right.
It switched up a little bit from what Ryan and Shane used to run it. Back then, It was the Chattahoochee, the Flint, and the Okmulgee. Now it's the Oconee, Okmulgee, and Flint.
There we go. All right. So, yeah, it used to be called the Three Rivers Throwdown. That's what they called it. So, who knows? Clifton looks like a wish Lambert. Come on, man. we're already in on that. We're going to do a giveaway tonight. I think we'll do a Revo giveaway. So how about who wants to win some Revos? Just hit the share on Facebook, the like and comment everywhere else, and we'll draw a winner at the end of the show. So hit that Revo giveaway tonight. But yeah, Dylan, before we get Bryan in, tell us a little bit about your last 2 weeks, because I know you went to ICAST. Was that your first time to ICAST?
It was my first ICAST. Man, it was a blast.
Then Susky, and then here recently. So tell us about your trip to ICAST first.
Oh man, ICAST was a blast. I've been wanting to go since I was a kid. There's a lot of walking, a lot of mingling, a lot of partying after the show's over. It was a good time. I met a lot of really cool people. Did get affected by the whole flight delay on the way home. I think I got delayed by about 5 hours, which wasn't terrible compared to most people. But still got home in time to hop in my truck and drive straight to the Susky. So
there we go. Good. Yeah. What'd you think of it? Because a lot of people have a misperception about what that's about. It's not a trade show like you would see at the Classic, where you can actually go in there and buy things. It's more of a buyer and sellers deal, demoing new products. What'd you think of that vibe as compared to your typical show at the Classic or whatever?
So I liked it because for me, it was nicer than say the Classic or a typical trade show, because you don't have a lot of people mobbing like the industry guys, like, Scott Martin and all them. And I could actually, stop and talk to them and hang out and stuff like that. But that was really the biggest difference for me, was there wasn't a lot of non-industry people there, I guess.
Yeah. Bunch of lines for selfies and whatnot.
Yeah. No, that wasn't a thing there. The Bahio booth was giving out tattoos and haircuts though. So that was pretty wild.
That's weird. Who was doing the haircuts?
I think one of the guys with him is a barber. I'm not 100% sure, but some of the tattoos are pretty wild looking.
Yeah. Then off to the Susky, right behind it. I know that's smallmouth Disneyland. I've still never been up there. What'd you think of that? I mean, another trip to the Susky.
It's insane, man. I wouldn't complain if we went up there every single year.
Don't you think somebody will? One of the series
I,
will go up there.
Yeah, I mean, I've been every year for the past 5 years now, multiple times a year, and I mean, it's crazy every single time we go up there.
Yeah. And then most recently, you were at the river event, right, for Bass Nation. What's it like? I mean, there's Bass Nation circuits all around the country, of course, but Georgia and Tennessee, I mean, the man himself that runs the national series also has his hand on Georgia and Tennessee. So to be able to fish a series like that and have it be so organized with him and Sassy Dan and the crew still running the local stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, man, it's nice. It's unique, man. I feel like the past tournament we had, it's unique. No one else has that kind of setup. I feel like, with a shoal bass fishery and multiple rivers in play at one time. It's just a unique experience. I think it'd be a good tournament for people to come from out of town or out of state rather to show up and fish.
Yeah. There you go, man. So you've been a busy man. Not just that, but all summer and all spring long. You fished a lot of tournaments, even the last couple of years. So you're burning up. You're burning up the road.
Oh yeah.
Let me shout out the sponsors. We'll get Bryan in here. I want to keep him too long. Of course, everyone knows he's a family man now. He's tired from fishing, so we got to get him in here and talk a little fishing. But shout out to Eco Fishing Shop. I want to give everybody another reminder. It's Big Bass 250 will be coming up this fall. You going to come over for that, Dylan?
What date is it?
It's it's the week after Caddo Bass, I believe.
I don't know if I can swing that. My work might can me if I'm gone too much longer.
Yeah, so for that one, it's a 1-dayer, no need to pre-fish. It's just a Big Bass hourly and then overall Big Bass deal. So, but Big Bass 250 for those that can make it is coming up at the end of October. You can go register on ecofishingshop.com right now. Pay half down, half later, or you can just go sign up all the way right now. Then they give you a code to get in on Tourney X. So make sure you get to the Big Bass 250. It's right after Caddo. Fall fishing is going to be in full effect. So hit Caddo, hit Lake of the Ozarks. It's going to be fun. And of course, if you need any gear, any kayaks, as you get into the summer, late summer and fall, ecofishingshop.com will drop them straight to your front door. Forklift never touches them. I always brag on the white glove service. Western Son Vodka, of course, the drink of choice for KBN. Pro God Lithium, they had some stuff debuted down at ICAST. And then, of course, tonight we're doing the Revo giveaway. So make sure you go follow Revo's page and get in on the giveaway. Gill, Seaguar, Z-Man, they help us out on other nights as giveaway partners, so we appreciate all of them as well. They make this show fun, so we can give stuff away to the folks in the comments that mix it up. So we appreciate y'all. With that said, let's get Bryan in here and talk a little Lake Fork, one of my favorite places in the nation to bass fish. Mr. Bryan Howell, what's up, sir?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Congrats on the win. First of all, how's the fam doing?
They're doing well. We just moved like a month ago, so stuff's kind of still a mess in the house and whatnot, but it's nice.
Where'd y'all move? Different city or different house?
Just a different city, but only like 40 minutes away up to Princeton, Texas.
All right. Getting up close to Bodart. Whoa.
And there he goes.
He moved into some of that good internet. Like I have.
Internet.
Yeah, he'll be back. Never fear, everyone. He'll be back. You ever been to Lake Fork, Dylan? There he is. He's coming back.
That was weird. It just like crashed completely.
That's the new house.
Yeah, it said something is like when I reloaded, it said like, "Oh, check your Wi-Fi," because at the old house I had like Ethernet cable plugged into my computer.
Yeah, and
now it's Wi-Fi, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but
yeah,
the new house. I'm still like a little bit over an hour from Lake Fork, so that's nice.
Yeah. So before we get into Fork, man, just tell us about your season so far, spring and summer. How have you felt about it, both in Texas and nationally?
Well, it wasn't that great. I won a small event in January, and then I had some decent finishes during the spring, and the last couple months, just no wins really, other than that first one in January. And we just kept having like weird weather and just these crappy lakes and all this weird stuff. I wasn't having a good time, honestly. Like I was like a little burnt out after a while of just not having great events, but still cashing a check, but like only covering my expenses, like pretty much in most of the tournaments. It's like, oh, okay, I broke even again. Like you can't complain too much, but still it wasn't like what I really wanted compared to how it normally is for me during that time of year.
Yeah, I feel like by this time of the year, we've had you on a couple of times.
Yeah, and then nationally, I didn't really get to fish as many national tournaments this year because my buddy had a wedding in California, so I was out there for like the bachelor party and then the wedding. Like I was the best man in the wedding, so I couldn't. I had to go to his wedding. It wasn't like, oh, I could be like, oh, sorry. It's like a really important thing to go do. So I missed out on, I think, 1 or 2 events like that. And then we were moving. So, that was a mess with a 2-year-old. Moving is a nightmare already, but with a 2-year-old, it's just terrible. So I didn't really get to fish. I missed 1 or 2 other events. And then finally now I'm kind of like stable again and can fish more.
Good. Yeah. And it's coming up on prime time in the fall, right? So I guess it's fall's a little later in Texas, I guess.
Yeah, I would say, we got a good 2 months of summer fishing left. But I like summer fishing personally.
You gonna be at Caddo?
Oh yeah, I'll be at Caddo. I'm definitely looking forward for that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, get with us. We'll have to hang out at the Lighthouse Bar one night.
Yeah, for sure.
That's for them youngins, Brian. I don't know. You're a family man now. Stay away from there. Stay away from there. So let's talk about Fork, man. I love Lake Fork. I think maybe I met you at Lake Fork, Brian. It's one of my favorite lakes to fish. What's it? A few years ago it was way down. It was super low. It seems like it's made a huge comeback since then, and obviously putting out a giant back like this. Although it looked like fishing might have been tough down the list a little bit. Tell us how the lake was looking and set up for this tournament.
I mean, the lake is awesome right now. There's more grass than I've seen in years, like everywhere that normally has grass on Fork and, years ago, it has grass now. The area that I fished was an area that I used to do really, really well like 5 years ago, just loaded with coontail back there. And now it finally looks not 100% as good as it did 5 years ago, but it's still amazing back there.
So no spraying is going on.
No, very, very little spraying is going on. They said they weren't going to spray at all. They sprayed like a couple little areas just for the Salvinia, but no, they're not spraying hydrilla. They're kind of leaving the hyacinth alone. Everything else is just pretty. It's just healthy right now. Just because they left it alone, I guess.
Sounds like Alabama could learn something there, Dylan.
I was just about to say, tell the Corps of Engineers to take notes because they are ruining Eufaula as we speak.
Yeah, I can't. It's just insane that they spray all these lakes. To me, I just don't get it. They don't know moderation. Like you could just maybe like they really wanted to spray, like okay, maybe a little tiny bit or like manually remove. They have those boats, that can just rip up the grass. Like maybe do that, but I don't get why they just go nuts and just spray the crap out of it.
Yeah, man, pre-fishing for the BOS on Eufaula, they had airboats and they were just spraying like the regular stalky bank grass. I'm like, man, like at least leave that alone. Come on now.
Yeah, those dudes will go out like, oh, anything green, I'm spraying it. You're like, what? Stuff was not even an issue.
Yeah, no, it's rough, man. I don't get the point, but
yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear Fork. Texas has an unbelievable rep for managing their fisheries, right? And it sounds like they got their head around to taking care of Fork and bringing it back. So yeah, man, let's talk about the tournament. It's a one day shootout pretty much, which, anything can happen in those kind of deals. Did you practice at all or did you just say, hey, this is Fork. I know Fork. I'm showing up.
Well, we had like a little Mariner Sales photo shoot thing about 3 weeks before the event. So we went out there and I've, just kind of casual fishing around, whatever, not really, having fun, spending time with some of the guys in the Mariner Sales team. And, we did a little photo shoot, video shoot thing. And I was just fishing along and I go and just kind of looking for grass. I'm like, man, there's not really any grass. And I keep going further and further back. And I finally find like a nice little point with grass on it, some pads, and I catch a 7-pounder. I'm like, okay, cool. that was the first fish I had. I haven't been to Fork all year until that day. It's like, okay, cool, that's fun. Whatever. We took pictures, videos, all that. Kept fishing around, caught like another 19, a 20, kept working my way back. And then I get way back in the creek that I was fishing. And I was just reeling along. Then I had a fish come up and just swipe my bait as it was coming out of the water. And I was like, oh, crap. Like, I can't believe I missed that one. Like, it looked like a good one, like 4-pounder. Chuck back in there. Boom. Immediately I catch one. Just release that one. Chuck back in there again. Boom. Another 4-pounder. Chuck in there again. It was like every single cast almost. I was getting a 4-pounder just fishing one little patch of grass. And then, G was taking pictures. Guillermo Gonzalez, he was taking pictures for us. So then he's like, you mind if I cast in there or whatever? He ties on the same thing I'm throwing. Cast in there. Boom. He catches a good one. And then Scotch was with us too. And he was fishing a swim jig. They wouldn't touch the swim jig. So he ties on a chatterbait, chucks it in there. Boom. He catches one. Okay, well, clearly they're here and they want that. So I was like, all right, I'm pretty confident I'm going to fish this for the tournament because it's just, the grass looked amazing. I only fished it in that very back part for maybe, 30 minutes or something. And I had over 100 for the day. And I was just casually fishing around. So I was like, you know what? There's not really any reason to go anywhere else. But I did want to practice again. But I just wasn't able to. And so I was like, you know what? Well, we'll just go into it and fish there. Like, honestly, I didn't need to go anywhere else unless I just wanted to eliminate stuff in my mind,
Yeah. Yeah. So come game day, you just went back there. You didn't worry about practicing that week or whatever. You went back there.
No, I could have gone and practiced maybe during the week, but it would have been tough. And I just figured, I didn't want to touch anything I had back there at all. So I just said, I'm going to launch, just immediately motor on my Newport, just go straight back there, beat everyone else and fish that for the morning and see how it is. I knew that Scotch and, Michael Cates and Larry Hill and a couple of those other guys were going to fish back there too. So I wanted to make sure I was there pretty early and not, have a spot to fish. So I was luckily able to get there first. And then, I had maybe 30 minutes to an hour by myself. And then Michael Cates came in. He kind of fished it around with me for a couple hours. Then he left. And then after that, I think Larry came in. He fished it for a while with me. And Scotch came in, fished it for a bit. And, I was catching fish the whole time. And I just don't know if I just know the area better than anybody else back there or if what I was throwing or what it was, but they were on for me. Everyone else back there did decent at least though.
Yeah, I'm looking at the leaderboard and that was going to be my question. Is like you said, Scotch was at that photo shoot. I see him in the top 10 on here. I was going to ask how much company you had since they actually saw you catch some good ones back there during that photo shoot. So what do you think the difference was? How did you they could probably see what you were throwing. So what do you think the difference was? Was it technique, line size, retrieve? What was going on back there?
Maybe the retrieve, and maybe I think part of it's like I have all the little creek channels, the ditches, everything back there mapped. Like I went through on Google Maps, spent a couple hours just mapping every little detail. I did this years ago and it's just stayed on my graph for all this time. So I was able to really hug kind of those creek channels and look for all those ditches and everything and kind of target exact things. Because I remember it was at some point in the day, Larry was, he only had 4 fish, I think. And I was like, oh, there's a bunch of fish in that creek channel, like, over there. And then he's like, where's the creek channel? I was like, I guess, am I the only one that has it like mapped?
Probably sell that these days.
You probably could.
Just kidding, people. Calm down. Larry says when he says he caught fish, he dangles it right. So I guess you dangle it right.
They just know it's BDH pulling up and they better bite. That's what it is.
That's what somebody said. Like, oh, they just jump in your boat when they see you pull up, right?
Yeah. Well, I've seen that in person as my buddy Garrett and I were fishing Dardanelle and Bryan came through and just started catching 5-pounders while we were struggling to catch 12 inchers. So yeah, Bryan can do that to you real quick. So take us through your day one, man. How fast did it start? Did you get back there when the day started? Did it confirm, hey, they're still here?
Yeah, I had two that I missed on top water. I thought maybe they were gar. They're kind of weird bites. I was like, okay, whatever. I just kept chucking the top water. I caught maybe a 15 on a buzz bait after that. And then I caught another one, maybe it's 16 or something like that. And then I kept throwing that top water, the buzz bait, and I missed so many fish in a row. I missed probably 4 or 5 in a row and said, screw this. Picked up a frog. I was like, maybe I can throw a frog over there and just like really work it slowly and they'll get it good. I was chucking that frog, working it slow. They were hitting that and I was still missing them. I missed like between the 2 top water baits, I missed like 7 or 8 bites in a row. I was like, this sucks. Like, I can't keep doing this. This is not going to work. So I said, all right, let's put these down. Let's grab the chatterbait. Just chuck that jackhammer out there. Started catching fish.
Let's talk about Big Kahuna. At what point in the day did this one happen, Bryan?
That was probably about 10:30. I had fished around. I had a pretty solid limit already at that point. I think I had, maybe low, mid 90s, something like that. And I was just chucking around, working the chatterbait in the area. I had kind of fished that whole area in the back already in the morning, covered most of this like main high percentage areas, and was like, okay, do I go hit my other stuff where I caught that 7-pounder for the Mariner Sales thing, or I just want to keep working back here? I was like, you know what? I'll just stay back here and I'll just cover it one more time, make one more pass. I start working it again and I catch, a couple good ones, and then I keep going and cast out. And as soon as that one hit, like I knew it was a giant. I record on my GoPro usually. I don't usually post the stuff, but I like to watch it and see how I caught the fish, what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. So I watched it back and immediately I'm like, oh crap. Like as soon as I hook it, and I'm just like struggling with it, but I got it in the boat, and as soon as it got next to the boat, it jumped too. And I saw that mouth and I was like, oh, that's a 10, right? Like I knew it was a 10, but at the same time, you're thinking like, I've been there before where it wasn't a 10. It was like a 9 or an 8 or something. And it just was skinny, but no, I got it in the net. And she looked like a spawn fish almost, she was thick.
Yeah, I looked at the rest of your fish on your stringer there, and they all were plenty long, all over 20. But this one here, it had that belly to go along with that length. Yeah.
Yeah, that one, she weighed 10.65.
How many 10s for that for you is that now?
That's my 3rd over 10, but that's my first in Texas over 10. I caught my other 2 over 10 in California.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy,
I've
man.
I've caught a ton of 9s in Texas. Like I've caught, more than I can count on my hands. 9s, 9.5s, but just could never break that 10 mark in Texas. And finally I broke the 10 mark.
So I was looking at the leaderboard, man. I always like to scroll quarter of the way down, halfway down, and you can kind of tell how the tournament went by looking at what the limit is for the guy in 20th or 30th place, right? So It looked like just right down around 20, it really fell off, 4 fish, limits in the 60s. Did you talk to anyone and hear any chatter about what the struggle was for some folks?
I think a lot of it was they were just eating weird. Like even for me, they were eating weird, believe it or not. I had so many bites that they would just smash it and you wouldn't get them. And even that 10-pounder, I cast it out and, I set the hook, missed it. I was like, oh, crap. Okay, let me cast back in the same spot. I cast it back in there and she hit it after I casted it back in there again. And even Larry was like watching me at that time. He was like, did you just miss that fish on the first time? I was like, yeah, she smoked it and literally just didn't get it and just cast it back in and she got it.
Yeah,
that's
Larry
how I was.
Comment saying,
too.
Go ahead,
fish come up, smash a spinnerbait, and my rod would load up and they just come off. And I'm like, I watched that fish inhale that spinnerbait. I don't know. Just not my year, I guess.
Yeah, it was bizarre. I mean, even like for Scotch was like, when he came over to fish back there with me, he was like, oh man, I've missed like 7 fish in a row or 17 in a row or something like that. Like he was having a bad day with missing them and losing them and everything too. But at least I was still getting a good amount of the ones that were hitting, maybe I can't say it percentage wise, but a good percentage of them still, it would come back and hit it on the second cast, follow-up cast, or I'd just keep reeling and they'd hit it again.
Well, that was going to be my question for you, man, is what, outside of just luck and and get them hooked up, what was the subtle adjustment to get those better fish and get them pinned like that?
I think just being accurate with the repeated casts. Like if you got bit in that spot, you better be making multiple casts back in that same area and like know where you're getting bit. Don't just like, oh, I kind of think I was casting over there. Like, no, you better know exactly where you casted and cast exactly in the same spot, because even that my second biggest one, the 21.5, that one, same deal. Like I casted up near some timber and there's some grass kind of mixed in. Just reeling it out. She smoked it. Like that was the hardest hit I had all day, probably. I was like, dang, that felt like a big fish. Okay. Immediately cast it back in there. Boom. She hit it again and I landed her. And if I hadn't, known where I cast it exactly or didn't even try to cast in there again, like I wouldn't even have had that fish, And same with the other one. Like probably half the fish in my limit were ones that hit it the second time.
Yeah. Do you think they were just sitting on a piece of cover and ambushing things, not cruising around, obviously, to be able to have to put it on their head like that?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they're doing. The grass back there was pretty clumpy. So you have like little areas where there'd be no grass and you have a super thick clump, like a mat, basically. And I think they were just hanging out near those mats and they would just sit there and wait for bluegill to come by, because there were quite a bit of bluegill beds around there too. You could see them on your side imaging. And that creek channel that runs through there, and there's like some ditches and stuff. So they kind of like sat probably on the edges of those clumps, kind of near the creek channel or whatever, and just wait for a bluegill to come by, and boom, they'd smoke it. So that's what I was throwing, a bluegill jackhammer, and they'd smoke it.
There you go. Take notes, people. That casting accuracy, we've talked about it on here I don't know how many times about how important that is, not only for just being tight to cover or whatever, but for what Bryan just said, that follow-up cast.
Yeah, and I think that if I had not been getting the fish on the follow-up casts or whatever, I probably would have switched colors or something, but I was still catching. I still had a dang good limit. I probably had, low 90s by like 8 a.m. or something like that, and then mid 90s by like 9, and by 10:30, 11, something like that. I think probably about 11 is when I had that 106 3/4.
Did you keep fishing hard, or were you on cruise control the rest of the day?
Honestly, I was fishing hard. Like I was thinking in my head, like, do I need to? Like, should I just go get lunch somewhere or what? And when Scotch came by, he's like, oh, I think you're good, dude. Like, oh, there's no way I'm catching that and whatever. I was like, I don't know, dude. Like, I've seen you smash them before, like you, Kate's, Philip, anybody that could have just smashed them and caught 106, but so. I thought I was safe, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I kept fishing pretty hard, but I never was able to cull again after about 11 a.m. That's when it kind of, it slowed down a little bit. I don't know if I had kind of burned out the area or if, it's just too hot out or what. I was still catching fish. Just they were no bigger than about 18 inches at that point.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. Fork is one of those places. There are no shortage of 20-inch plus fish. So somebody can go on a flurry real quick, right? And
yeah, that's exactly, because the 20 inches just like a Lake Fork special. That's just an average Lake Fork fish, it seems like.
All right, let's see here. We've got some questions for you. Chris over on YouTube asked, chatterbait with or without a trailer?
Always with the trailer, and I'd say 95% of the time I'm throwing the Yamamoto Zaco. Just match it up to the color of the jackhammer.
There we go.
Keep it simple.
Elba Fannin also on YouTube. Do you follow up with the same bait? Are you firing the same bait right back in there?
Yeah, I'm definitely throwing the same bait back in. I mean, I want it in there as quick as I can. I don't want to have to go and reach for something else or whatever. I'm just going to grab my same exact rod just in my hand, just immediately chuck out as quick as I can, as accurately as I can on the same spot, and just reel it through there. And hey, they hit it once, they're probably going to hit it again.
Yeah, I usually make follow up for the same thing, and then if they don't hit it on the second one, I'll like pitch a Senko or a Ned rig or jig or something like that in there.
Yeah, sometimes I do that too. If you make a couple of casts in there with the same thing, they're not hitting it, you're like, well, okay, maybe pick up a worm or, like I said, Senko, a fluke, whatever, something a little bit slower, and just kind of milk it through there just to be extra sure.
Taylor said She said, I told him he could get 106 and still finish fourth.
Yeah, she texted me that when I was fishing, and then she decided to delete it before I saw it because she's like, oh, it might actually happen.
Hey, that's what the wives are for, man. They keep us humble, keep us in check.
Yeah.
Yeah, anywhere else in the world, I feel like if you had 106 inches, you could DoorDash some pizza to some random person's dock. You not on fork. That'd be the one time somebody came in with 107. Like that place is insane. I can't
exactly.
Yeah, and you're talking about Cates and Larry Hill being in the area and Scotch, so any of those guys could go on a run, right? So
yeah, any of those guys could have put up over 100. Yeah, I mean 106 is pretty dang hard to get, but they could have definitely made it close and gotten up to 102 or something, and I would have been sweating.
Yeah, that's right. Make you sweat a little bit. Chris on YouTube also asked, what was your biggest throwback that you did that didn't help you, that couldn't call? Did you have any 20s that you hit to throw back? What was your smallest one?
My smallest was a 20.
Okay, yeah. So
I threw back quite a few 19s, but I don't think I threw back any 20s. I had like a 19 and a half, a 19 and a quarter, maybe a 19 3/4 as well. Those are good fish. I was content with those. If they would have been in my limit, I'd have no issue with that. But just for whatever reason, I just kept catching good ones.
All these dudes in the top 10 with a 13 in the limit are cussing you.
Yeah, there was a lot of guys that's the thing. Like, guys were not getting a ton of bites, or if they were getting a ton of bites, they just weren't getting them in the boat. So there was plenty of guys that had like good 3 fish or good 4 fish, and then they had 1 or 2 little ones, and they just could not get rid of those little ones.
Yeah. Yep. Larry said he asked you to throw them back in his kayak, but you wouldn't do it. Just make a little underhand toss over there. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, just toss him right in front of his kayak, help him hook him real quick.
That's awesome, man. I mean, Lake Fork's a special place. It's unbelievable to me that they're able to keep it that way with all the pressure that it gets, but here it is, still spitting out big limits in the heat of summer. So unbelievable.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Fork, there's something about Fork, you just go there, you feel it in the air when you drive in there, it just oozes bass fishing. You get on the water and just, on any cast, you can catch a 10-pounder like I did. I mean, any day you go there, it's possible.
Insane. It's crazy. Well, Bryan, we're not going to keep you much longer, man. I just wanted to have you on to talk about that tournament. We saw the hype for it on our own Kayak Bass Nation group page. And I'm glad we had you on. Like I said, we usually have you on multiple times a year. We had to have you on to talk about Fork and your victories. So well done, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Dylan, anything to add before we let him slide out?
Congratulations, man. See you at Caddo.
All right. See you there. Thank you.
All right, Bryan. Get some rest, man. Tell Taylor we said hi.
All right, man. Sounds good. Later.
Bryan Howell, everybody. Give it up. One of KBN OG favorites. Now we got a few guys coming in familiar to you, Dylan.
Oh, yeah.
We got John Patterson and Jeremy Meadows been patiently waiting. The winner of the most recent event down there on the river. I keep wanting to call it the Three Rivers Throwdown, but on the rivers in Georgia. And then the AOY for Georgia, Jeremy Meadows. Congrats to both of you on the wins this year, and then the AOY, Jeremy.
Appreciate it, Jeff. Dylan, how y'all doing?
Pretty good. Is that John or Darth Vader? I can't tell.
Sorry, the light's a little bad. I'm
using
right,
man.
Roommate's laptop. It's my first time getting on it.
That's all right, man. We got you. I don't know if I can do anything on my end, but we can see you, we can hear you, so that's better than a lot of guests, so we're good. So let's start with the most recent event, and then we'll get to the AOY, man. Dylan, you were in the event, so John, tell us about this event on the river. I love river fishing. It's a great thing to do in the summer anyway, but I know that system of rivers y'all fish down there is a little bit different. So tell us about this event and what went down there.
Yeah, so it was a roller coaster of emotions. Last year, I cashed my first check on this Three Rivers event. I got second place. I lost by 1/4 of an inch, and I fished on the Coney River. The water was really high. It was like 7,000 CFMs. I'm really new to bass fishing, especially kayak bass fishing. This is my second year doing kayak bass fishing tournaments. 3 years ago, I only dreamt of being in a kayak bass fishing tournament, watching Christine Fisher and a lot of other YouTubers. And luckily I was able to meet someone in the kayak bass fishing community and was able to buy a kayak off of him, and he got me into kayak bass fishing. So for this past tournament, I fished the Okmulgee River, and the water was really high. It was really dirty. I wasn't really familiar with a lot of dirty water, especially on the Okmulgee. I fished it about 9 different times in this particular area, but I wasn't really too familiar with it. In practice, I caught 2 fish. One was 10 inches, didn't measure, and one was 12 inches, both largemouth. I think the river at the time of my practice was probably like 3,500 CFMs. Went back into a creek with a spinnerbait, and that's the only 2 I caught during practice. So I was just winging it the day of the tournament. I was just going up and down, fishing in different stretches, just casting blindly. I had no clue what I was doing. 3 hours into the tournament, I caught my first fish, and it was a sigh of relief. I gave God all the praise, because first bite, 3 hours in, you didn't know if you were doing the right thing or not. I continued on and caught another fish shortly after. I had a couple more later on in the day. I kept checking the leaderboard, and me and Dylan were going back and forth, 3rd and 2nd place. I was in 2nd place a little bit. Then here comes Dylan 30 minutes later. He was in 2nd place, got me into 3rd. I think I continued to fish. I caught 3 good ones in one spot within 20 yards of each other, and didn't have a bite for 3 hours. It was really rough. I had 30 minutes left in the competition, and I see Dylan coming down the same stretch I was fishing, and he pulls out a big fish right in front of my face, and he took the lead over me. Then he was in 2nd place. I continued to fish hard, and as Dylan was passing me, I ended up missing a fish, and he told me to pay attention, and that's really something I had to do. I really had to click in and lock in, so I did. And with 10 minutes left in the tournament, I landed a 21-inch shoalie, and that's what got me the lead and got me the victory. It was unbelievable. Couldn't believe it, and yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
That's unbelievable, man. What did that call for you?
That coaled a 14-incher, so that 21-inch bass right there was a 7-inch coal, and I went from potentially 4th place or 3rd place all the way up to 1st. Didn't know if I had secured the W at this point, but during weigh-ins, when they were calling out the measurements, when I heard someone say 90 1/4, that's when I knew it. And this is my 2nd time cashing a check. It's my 1st win ever. So it was awesome for me. This is what I live for. I live and breathe fishing. This is something I've dreamt of since I was a kid, and nothing can make me happier than that moment right there.
That's awesome, man. Dylan, expound on, I mean, to those of us that don't live in the region, those don't look like anything we catch, man. Yeah. Tell us about the famous shoalies down there.
They're special, man. They're mean. It's the only fish I would say that any somewhat compares to a Susquehanna smallmouth, man. You're just strong. Like, when I first started kayak fishing, I didn't really understand how special shoal bass were. I didn't really honestly know that they were only in the 3 rivers in Georgia, but you just got to come down and fish for them, man. It's indescribable. It's a lot of fun. Just, I don't know. Like, I appreciate them a lot more now. As I was floating by John, he was like, man, I haven't really caught a whole lot of shoal bass today. And I was like, kind of hard to figure out. I caught mine about 10 feet off the bank, right in the middle of the blowdown, and just kept floating on past him. And the next thing I hear is, whoa, about 5 minutes later, and Lambert looks at me. He's like, you're toast, bud. And I look back, and John has a net full of that giant shoal bass. And I was like, I will never, ever tell anybody what to do again. But like I told Lambert, me and John have been friends since high school. I wouldn't want that to happen to me from any other person except John. It was kind of cool to see, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Unbelievable story for some last minute heroics like that. Jeremy, you're the AOY for Georgia Bass Nation. You were in this event too, so tell us how this event went for you. You had a limit, solid finish. What did you think of the event in the shoalies in that river?
Well, I think if you're having a drought in your state, then you should probably just go ahead and schedule a river tournament, and you'll get plenty of rain leading up to it. We went and looked at the river on Friday, and it was right below the dam, the Ocmulgee, and it was really muddier than I expected. Where the previous year that John was mentioning, the Oconee was flowing 7,000, and the Ocmulgee was pretty high. The water was still way clearer than it was this year, so I kind of felt like I was a bit out of my element, so I decided to fish the lake, and I was basically fishing for 14 inchers, and it was pretty tough out there. A couple guys out there caught some big ones, but they didn't really have limits to make anything out of it. But yeah, I kind of knew going into this event that those guys, I think Eric needed to finish second or better, regardless of what I did, and Joe needed to finish third or better. So I felt pretty good about my chances. And I knew where those guys were fishing the night before. We had dinner with Eric and his wife and some of their friends, and he said where he was fishing. So when I got up that morning, I checked the flows, and I seen they were only flowing like 700 or something like that. And I was like, I don't know if Eric's going to be too happy about that. So I just went out there and went fishing and just tried to catch fish. And luckily I was able to hang on, and those guys didn't call their worst finish, and I was able to hold on to the lead there.
Very good. Very good. I was going to ask, did this event play at all, or did you have better finishes that wiped this one out?
No, I had better finishes for sure. I had a first, a second, a third, and a fourth for my best four out of 8 events. I fished 7th out of the 8 events.
There we go.
So did you say you were on the Oconee or you were on the lake?
I was on the lake. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Last year, the Oconee was rowdy. The day before the tournament for pre-fishing, it was flowing so hard. Steve-O and I did a 33-mile float. Turned out to be super unproductive.
Yeah,
but
y'all are crazy for that.
Dude, I'll never do it again.
I mean, that 9-mile stretch that y'all did this past weekend is just the launch for that is getting to the launch from. Yeah, I've seen it. I'm sure it was
Lambert was cussing me the whole way. I've broke kayak carts. I about broke my ankle trying to get down that thing at dark. Like it sucks, but that's such a good stretch of river. When it's on, it's hard to beat, man.
Yeah, Lambert also said you gave him the crappy side of the river. That's what I heard.
No. That's Lambert's excuse for not being able to river fish, because Nick Dyer has whooped my ass on that stretch, on that bank, on that stretch before.
He likes casting from his left side to the right to left, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You make him fish the right side, Dylan?
What?
Did you make him fish the right side?
I did. Left-hand bank's my bank, man. Ain't nobody gonna take that from me.
The way John laughed, he just knew you gave him the trash side.
I did one float with Dylan. That was who introduced me to that river and that area of stretch. And I also fished the right side, and I can contest to the right side not being as good as the left.
Yeah, Dylan doesn't sabotage my boy. He ain't even here to
beat somebody on that right bank. Y'all need to get off me.
No kidding. I caught some good ones on the right side, but yeah.
Crazy. Cody Kaler on Facebook saying, "Congrats, Jeremy. Finally got you on here. Well deserved." Yeah, man. AOY is tough. No matter where you win it or how you win it, winning a tournament is tough. Period. Whether it's local, regional, or national, but winning AOY, man, there's something special about that because you grind all year. You've got all these competitors battling it out, dedicating, like you said, 7 out of 8 events to try to pull it off. So, what'd that mean to lock that in and see that you'd finally won it at the end of that tournament?
Well, when I walked up to the meetup, man, and I saw that trophy sitting on that table, and I was like, man, that thing is legit. And that's one thing I'd like to talk about is the awesome opportunity that this deal Steve-O and Double D's put together for us anglers to come out in our little plastic boats and be able to fish and compete for awesome trophies like this. And And, like the check and the trophy for winning that John got. I mean, hats off to them for giving us anglers this opportunity, because this trophy's legit, man. It's really sweet. So it meant a whole lot. Whenever I first started kayak fishing, you never know how it's going to turn out, or how it's going to go, or are you going to have an opportunity to win, AOI. And, I think year before last, I was third or so in Bass Nation. And last year, I think I was fourth or fifth or something like that. And, so yeah, I mean, it meant the world to me, honestly. And like I said, just walking up, seeing that trophy sitting there, and how pretty it was. And, but then I was listening to the weights and stuff, and them call out names and stuff. So when they called me and Joseph up there, I knew that I had it locked up, because Joe and Eric did not, finish what I thought they needed to finish to take it from me, which was third and second. So.
Yeah, did you have a moment during the season, like any magic, like that one event or that one fish kind of turned it, and you thought, man, I might pull this off?
Probably at Russell. That tournament, I won that tournament, and I didn't catch a fish or get a bite till 8:30 that morning. And I was going into that deal, after practicing Friday, I was kind of banking on catching some schooling fish first thing in the morning, and that just did not happen. So I went and started fishing some brush piles that I marked before, and started catching some fish that were, in that 13, 14 inch range. And then, after I think I had 4 fish, maybe 5, I went back across the lake and I started fishing some timber and stuff that I knew was there. And, those spotted bass and those herring lakes, they don't really turn on and feed till that sun gets high. And it was like flipping a light switch. And I caught a 20 1/4 inch spot, which also won me big bass for that event. And after I caught that one, I was like, I always try to catch a limit, and I try to shoot for 90 inches, because a lot of times 90 inches wins or gets you in the money. And if you can get close to that, and you get that one bite you need, to put you up there in the top spot. And that 20 1/4 was that. And I was able, I think I called like 2 more times. And when we got off the water, and I'll tell this story, but he's probably not going to like it. And one of the reasons this trophy's sitting here with me is because my buddy Joseph Gayton, me and him actually tied for Russell, but he had 2 letters in his identifier mixed up, and he didn't have any surface. So he submitted all his fish at one time. And so Steve-O called him and said, "Hey man, you got the wrong identifier." So he lost all his fish in what would have been a second place finish. And that would have all but locked up, the AOI for him. But, it's more, I mean, Dylan knows this. He's been doing it a long time. It's more than just catching fish. It's the little things. You got to do the little things right. Fishing clean and that kind of thing. So,
yeah.
That's the thing. Why, man, everything has to go perfect all year long to lock that up. It's a hard feat.
It is. And like I said, I felt like I was close to winning at probably our Allatoona tournament, in Chattooga, where I finished second, but it all just came together for me at Russell. And that was the springboard to me winning AOI.
That's awesome. John, you said you've only been doing this a couple of years, man. Already off and running, cashing checks and winning blue trophies here in Georgia. But did you have any new guy errors like that in your first couple of years, first couple of tournaments? Did you do any like late submissions, wrong submissions, anything like that?
I did. The first year, I didn't know about the tail pinch. I didn't know it was legal to actually extend the fish and get extra inches, 1/4 inches out of it. So for years, I was just putting them on the board, and however they flopped, that's how I took a photo of them. And this tournament, had I not gotten every single 1/4 inch out of each fish, I would have lost. I only won by 3/4 of an inch. So
right.
I learned that much, and net jobs, different things like that. Lost some fish flopping off the board, learned how to set a net and have it as a back catch. So rookie mistakes is only my second year doing it, and I'm still learning, but I love it.
Yeah, and if Joseph's watching, I'm not calling you a rookie, Joseph. We all still make mistakes as we're way into this. But it's, the catching them is really only part of the game. I mean, the quality of the photo, the right ID even being in the photo. I've done that. I don't know how many times where I just leave it off to the side or out of the picture. All that stuff's part of the game too. So it's good lessons to share it and learn about that stuff. Chris is asking, Dylan, what's your kayak? So let's go around the horn and we'll get everybody's kayak. Dylan, what are you fishing out of?
I'm fishing out of the best riverboat on the market, a Hobie PA14 360 SR, buddy. Don't let anybody else think otherwise.
That's insane. All right. John, what you fishing at?
I am fishing a great value kayak, Vibe Shearwater, but I love it. That's
all
my
right.
first only kayak.
Hey, best kayak is the one you got and the one that floats.
That's right.
That's the one. Jeremy, what are you fishing out of?
I'm rocking a 2021 Hobie PA14 360. I'm rocking a 180 Pro on the back, Garmin 8610 for my live scope, and a Lowrance HDS9 for my mapping and waypoints. A lot of people, complain about the Hobies and whatnot, but this boat's 3 years old, and I never had a belt issue, never had a clutch issue, no cracks, no nothing. So I love that boat. To me, it's the best platform there is for kayak fishing. I love it. I mean, I couldn't imagine fishing anything else.
Yep. And if you care to know, I fish out of a Old Town Sportsman 120 PDL, no motor, that mostly sits in the garage these days. So there you go. now you know everybody's kayaks. Got a question from YouTube. Elba, when you're fishing rivers, are you minimizing the amount of tackle you carry? If so, how do you determine what you take? Or Dylan's shaking his head. What do you do, Dylan? You loading the boat?
Leave everything in there, man. Everybody that knows me and has seen my front hatch and has helped me carry my kayak knows that thing is loaded down as much as possible. And half the time I don't even use that stuff, but I want to have it just in case. River tournament, lake tournament, doesn't matter.
There we go. John, you won the tournament. You going minimal or you loaded up in the Vibe?
I am also a great value fisherman as well as a great value kayak owner. So I shopped all my fishing rods and stuff come from Walmart. Like my most expensive last year was $80. And, I just didn't know anything about tackling gear. So everything's with me. Everything I own is in that kayak, and all my rods and stuff.
That's amazing. So there you go.
John is a testament that you can win on great value gear. Do you mind if I tell him about what you wanted on won Big Bass on last year?
No mind at all.
Dude, all right. So we were sitting at the Pickle Barrel, and he was like, I sat on this one point, and what was it, like a 23 and change? How big was it?
I think it was 23 on the dot.
Yeah, and I was like, man, what'd you catch it on? Like, I know there's big fish on the Oconee. I got a frog fishing video on YouTube of me catching giants. Just curiosity, what'd you catch it on? He's like, oh, man, I caught it on a Bass Pro Shops. Show me the money shad. And I'm like, a what? Like, bruh. And he showed it to me, and I'll give Bass Pro Shops credit. It's a really good-looking little swim bait. But I was like, I'm out here throwing my $15 jackhammer with my $5 trailer and 80-pound Tatsu or $80 Tatsu, and John's beating my ass on a show me the money cat.
It matched the hatch. It was the best. It was the closest one.
15-pound big game.
Yeah.
Hey, world wrong, a big game.
Jeremy, what about you, man? You a minimalist? Are you loading up?
I stay pretty loaded now. If I was going to fish the river, I'm pulling my graphs off and all that kind of stuff, obviously. But I'm not much of a river guy, to be honest with you. Just not my thing.
Yeah, I feel you. Cody Kohler is giving me lessons on how to say his last name, Dylan. If you have never watched the show, I can't print. If your last name is in any way complicated, it's getting mispronounced by me. So I apologize, Cody. I think I called him Cody Kaler earlier.
It's part of the rite of passage.
Yeah, you get your name mispronounced and you done made it on this little live stream. So there you go. Any more questions, drop them in the comments for these guys. We'll get them to them. Go ahead, Dylan.
I was going to say, you'd be surprised how many people mispronounce Dylan.
Yeah. What do they say? Dylon,
all kinds of stuff, man.
Hey, Aaron. I like that. Yeah. Any more questions? Like I said, drop in the comments. We'll get them to these guys before we get them out of here. Jeremy, as someone that just pulled off the AOI, man, what tips can you give these folks as this season's starting to wind down? A lot of AOIs are getting announced heading into next year. Any like positive mental attitude tips, any kind of words of encouragement for those out there trying to chase that AOY title?
Fishing's a grind. It's not, you don't always go out there and, have a limit by 7 or 8 o'clock. Sometimes, I mean, you only need 5 bites. So, be patient, stick with it. If you've got confidence in something, stick with it. It's a grind. And like I said, like that's what one thing that Russell tournament showed me is just keep grinding, and sometimes good things will happen.
Yeah, and this sport is still growing. New folks getting into it all the time. So, John, you've kind of already said a little testimony to the new guy stuff. Don't worry about breaking the bank when you first get started your first couple of years. So, any words of encouragement for someone that may be just getting into tournaments, man, like you were?
Well, last year that was my first year fishing tournament bass fishing, and I placed second place in a local league for tournament or angler of the year. So you can do it with budget angling. I mean, you just go out there and fish your heart out. Just follow your gut. Research. Look at the online fishing reports. Just do YouTube search. People are out there. They're catching fish. They're going to show you how to catch them, and that's what I do on every tournament. I look at the previous fishing reports. Look at the water levels. Look at the temperature, and just go based off of that.
Good stuff. Good stuff. We got a couple questions coming in from the group before we wrap this thing up tonight. Top Shelf over on YouTube. Appreciate it. Top Shelf's our only viewer that bounces back and forth to multiple platforms, Dylan. He goes from Twitch to YouTube and back and forth just to make sure we're good on all of them. Appreciate Top Shelf. On rivers, do you prefer to fish hard upstream and float back, or start high in the river and float down and then fight your way back up?
So it depends on water clarity for me. If the water's super clear, I prefer to start down and work my way up. But like this weekend on the Okmulgee, the water was super dingy. I'll just float down and cast back up river.
Jeremy doesn't like rivers, so we won't ask him. John, how do you like doing the river, man?
Dirty or clear, I prefer going up. I just feel like those fish are facing into the current, and they're waiting for something to float by. Those 3 shoal bass I caught on my limit, they all hit exactly almost when the lure hit the water. So they were waiting for something to come by. An exception to the biggest one, the 21-incher, like Dylan gave me the tip 10 feet out from the bank. That one was almost on the dot 10 feet out from the bank. That was the only one I caught actually retrieving my lure like it was intended to be.
Very good. Another question, this one from Facebook, Mike Woods. I hear people say the fish are conditioned to the plopper and jackhammer. Any thoughts on fish getting conditioned to these baits, or just to popular baits in general? Jeremy, what do you think?
I think there is probably some conditioning, especially with the plopper, and I think we saw that on the Susky last week with the top 2 finishers, Edwin and Christine, having to go to the little wake bait. But if I ever feel like I'm getting short strikes on the jackhammer or something like that, I try to switch my color up, and I like to use like a trailer that contrasts to the color of my skirt, just to kind of try to be a little different than maybe other people that are matching their trailers to their skirts.
Dig that. Dylan, what do you think?
I agree, man. I think little differences make all the differences in the world. That's like in 2021 when Bryan won Seminole. He said he was switching back and forth from a jackhammer to a thunder cricket because the vibration was just a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah, with the top waters, probably, as the Chapo came out, it's got a little different thump to it than the plopper, so it had an impact.
Yeah, it's got a little bit higher pitch pop to it to me.
Yeah. Good question over there, Mike. I don't see any more questions. I don't want to keep you guys too long. I know it's been a long weekend. It's a Monday night, but I just want to say congrats to both of you. John on your first dub,
Thanks,
Jeremy
sir.
on the grind and the AOY, man. Well done. I mean, that's a big deal.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah,
also,
go ahead, Jeremy.
I want to thank Carl Black of Kennesaw. They give $1,000 to the AOY winner, and that's pretty awesome. So just y'all come sign up and fish Georgia and Tennessee Bass Nations next year, and this could be you sitting here with this trophy.
Yeah, I said something to Dylan earlier. I'm like, hey, you know, not only there's Bass Nation groups going on all over the country these days, but you guys have the luxury, I'd say, of Steve-O, the man that runs the national trail, also putting his hand on Tennessee and Georgia, along with Dan and the other great folks that help run the thing. So great, has to be a great series because you got a great TD running things. So that's awesome. Amy Brown giving a shout out to the team. There you go. Good stuff. But yeah, John, Jeremy, thank you very much for your time tonight. We'll let you guys get out of here. And once again, congrats. I'm sure we'll see you on the show again in the future.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
See y'all guys.
Yeah, there we go. Good fellas there, Dylan.
Oh yeah, man. Congrats to Jeremy for winning AOI. Like I said, man, that's super hard to do. And I couldn't be any more proud of John, man. I remember him hitting me up as soon as he started kayak fishing, asking me a ton of questions. And we've come a long way from sitting in advanced economics class with a water bottle full of vodka.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're going to do the Revo giveaway now. To get in on that, this was a Bass Nation themed show. We had Georgia, Texas represented. So let's hit that hashtag Bass Nation to get in on the Revo giveaway. We'll give you 20, 30 seconds to get that in there, and we'll do the giveaway. I like those guys, man. I like John. I like he's like, he owns it. He's like, man, I'm just getting started. I got budget tackle, budget lures, and I'm still busting y'all's heads. It's just the way
He's good as gold, man. It's like I told Lambert. I would not have wanted that to happen to me from any other person except for John. I couldn't even be mad at it. I was like, you know what? I was talking smack. I earned it.
Yeah, that's good stuff right there. Good stuff. I remember those days being new to everything before I made everything too complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate you tonight, Dylan, sliding in for Ryan.
No problem, man. Not a problem at all.
Who do you think's going to win tonight? Who's getting slow rolled tonight? That's the real question.
Oh, that's an issue. Look, okay, dude. I got slow rolled a couple years ago for the Hobie when they did the drawing for the Outback. I saw my name and it went click, 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 click. And I think Dave Cottrell actually wound up winning it. But let's see. Let me go. You know what? I'm picking Clifton.
All right. Clifton's due.
I got you.
We got George.
He was talking smack, saying I was the Dollar General Ryan Lambert earlier, but you know what? I'm a water under the bridge. I'm picking him to win it.
All right. I got George Wheeler in the comments. He's in the entries. I told him in the chat when I was sending him a code for something else that I'm gonna have to W9 this guy because he keeps winning stuff. He was the winner of the links for Hobie Worlds. All right. Let's hit this drawing. Here we go. I need a drum roll sound. I can't make it with my yeah, there we go. Chris asked a couple of great questions. My man Top Shelf got slow rolled. I'm sorry, Top Shelf. But Chris has won something on here before, maybe a couple somethings. I don't know. So well done, Chris. Slide in my DMs and we'll get you that code for those glasses, man. There we go. Great show, Dylan. Yeah. All right, man. Well, hey, appreciate you once again. We'll wrap this thing up. If you're listening on the audio podcast later on, we appreciate y'all checking it out. And as always, we appreciate everyone watching us live tonight, man. Appreciate you, Dylan.
No problem, brother. Night, y'all.